Hello, this is my TOK essay breakdown series for November 2023. In these videos, I'll be unpacking the key terms and ideas from the title, as well as looking at the question through the lens of two areas of knowledge. For a more detailed analysis, examples, and ideas on how to approach this title using different AOKs and other TOK concepts, please check out the full guide, a link to which you can find in the description. Alright, so in this video we'll be looking at Title 3, which is, in the acquisition of knowledge, is following experts unquestioningly as dangerous as ignoring them completely? Discussed with reference to the human sciences and one other area of knowledge. Okay, let's begin with some possible key terms. The first one I have chosen here is the acquisition of knowledge, which is a pretty central concept to TOK. Here I have broadly defined it as the act of receiving, processing, understanding, and retaining information. Another important term from this question is experts. So you could debate what exactly constitutes an expert in terms of the level of qualification they need or the degree of experience they have. But for simplicity's sake, here I have defined them as individuals who have extensive knowledge of a particular field or discipline. And finally, dangerous. So we typically think of something as being dangerous if it leads to physical or emotional harm, but perhaps we can also include into this something which may risk the loss of something valuable. Right, so some key points to consider when answering this question. First of all, I would recommend avoid saying that either following experts unquestioningly or ignoring them completely is clearly the least dangerous option in all cases. Instead, explore the negative implications for both before showing how, on balance, one may be the least bad course of action in most cases than the other. Okay. Also, think about how experts gain credibility. Why is it that we typically take their insights and perspectives more seriously than we do those of non-experts? And also, try to avoid using the most obvious examples. I imagine a lot of students are going to be using kind of the COVID-19 pandemic, so things like the communication of health measures by scientists and governments, as well as the misinformation which was spread during that time as the basis for their real life situations. So try to choose something that maybe isn't so obvious, because if you want your essay to stand out, you want to try and at least be a bit unique. All right, let's look at our AOKs. The first one we're going to cover here are the human sciences, given that it is the compulsory AOK for this question. We're going to start by linking this to the title question by saying the perspectives of human scientists can have a major real-world impact. After all, governments do employ specialists from economics, political sciences, and other areas to give them their insights which ultimately influence policy creation and decision making. So for the claim, we're going to say that following experts unquestioningly can be equally as dangerous as ignoring them. One reason for this is that the insights provided by experts in the human sciences can be highly speculative in nature. Due to the complexities of human behavior, it can be very difficult for experts to make sound predictions and judgments, which means a lot of what they say can be highly speculative in nature. Moreover, if an expert gets it wrong regarding the facts, this could actually lead to catastrophic consequences. For example, a misguided economic policy could plunge millions into poverty. Moving into our counterclaim, we might contend that no, actually, ignoring experts is far worse. One obvious reason being that such people are more qualified than most to comment on their specialist areas. Even if we grant that experts engage in a good deal of speculation due to their knowledge of the complexities and intricacies of their field of study, they are in a far better position to provide maybe not always accurate, but at least useful insights into their subjects than, say, some random person on Twitter could. Also, they are largely accountable for their opinions through measures such as peer review. Oftentimes their careers very much depend on the quality of insights that they are able to provide. Bring these ideas together in a mini conclusion. We can say that whilst following experts is typically a lot less dangerous than ignoring them, we do have to bear in mind that a lot of their ideas may be considered educated guesses, so to speak. Okay, for the second AOK, we're going to look at history, which we will link to the title prompt by saying that the historical knowledge we acquire can have ramifications for the present and future. So yes, history does deal with the past, but it is still connected and influential upon the present. Therefore, ignoring experts from this AOK, in other words, historians, could potentially be dangerous, and more so than blindly following them, which is the perspective I'm going to use for the claim. After all, ignoring historians can lead to the spread of misinformation or false narratives about historical events. Without experts to verify and validate claims or theories about historical occurrences, this could lead to inaccuracies, myths, and even prejudices being spread. Also, it is particularly dangerous when governments take control of and manipulate historical narratives for their own ends. And this can be seen with Russian President Vladimir Putin's highly revisionist interpretation of history, which he has used as one of his main justifications for invading Ukraine. For the counterclaim, we may contend that, well, actually, following historians unquestioningly can be just as dangerous, because historians can still be co-opted or manipulated by political powers. For example, governments can control research funding and use other means to coerce historians into favoring a specific narrative or interpretation of history, which means, ultimately, the insights of historians could actually be used to justify policies that harm marginalized groups or, at the very least, obscure the true nature of historical events. So bringing these ideas together in a mini conclusion, we might say that the answer to the title prompt depends on the context in which the historian is working. The relative risks of blindly following and completely ignoring historians could be based on whether their government is actively working to manipulate historical narratives, whether they're engaging in the coercion of academics who step out of line. And if this is the case, then perhaps the risks of blindly following and completely ignoring historians are comparable. Right, so I hope you found that useful. For essay guides and personal feedback, feel free to drop me an email at tom@toklifeline.com. And if there's a specific title that you would like me to cover next, please do leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching.